Hey everybody, and welcome to another deep dive. You know we love to take your suggestions, and today is no different. We're going deep on a song that's been requested a lot recently.
Yeah, this one is super interesting.
It's Gata Only by FloyyMenor and Cris MJ. This track just oozes modern romance, reggaeton style, and honestly, it's been stuck in my head for days.
It's definitely catchy, but there's a lot more to it than meets the eye.
I think so too. There's something about the way it mixes that classic reggaeton sound with these like super current touches. I feel like it's saying a lot about how we connect and, fall in love and everything in this day and age.
Absolutely. Gata Only is kind of like a snapshot of desire in the digital age.
Whoa. Okay, I love that. Sonic time capsule. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's start, I guess, at the beginning.
Yeah.
With the title, Gata Only. Simple, right? 2 words. But man, does it feel loaded. What's the story there? What's behind those 2 words?
Well, gata on its own, that's a really interesting word. It's like this kind of insider term. In Latin urban culture, gata signifies this woman who's confident, magnetic, someone who just owns the room.
She's got that it factor.
Exactly. She's not just beautiful, she's got that something extra. But adding only to it, that's where things get really interesting.
Okay, yeah, tell me more.
It like elevates her, to this exclusive status. Like she's the only one that matters to the narrator.
So it's not just attraction then.
Right.
It's putting her on a pedestal.
Exactly.
I can already see how that sets the stage for, all the longing and the intensity that we're going to get to later.
Yeah.
But first, I have a question about the very beginning of the song. It just starts with A. Why something so simple for a song that's, about to explode with passion?
Well, I think that A is actually really clever. It's subtle, but it works.
Yeah.
Imagine, like, you're at a party. Someone calls your name from across the room.
Okay, yeah.
You turn, and all of a sudden you're just pulled into their world.
I get it.
That's what that A does. It's that invitation, almost like a whisper, drawing you in before the music even starts.
It's the calm before the storm.
Yes.
And speaking of storm, let's talk about the refrain. Because when I hear, mami, te siento lejos, dime dónde están, te quiero chingar, te voy a raptar, déjate llevar, apaga el celular, que si está conmigo no te va a pasar nada, solo déjate llevar, nena, atenta a la jugada, que yo quiero contigo y tú quieres conmigo. It's like this rush of longing, but also urgency. What's going on in the narrator's head here?
He is yearning, definitely. Feeling that distance between himself and the Gata, and he just can't stand it.
Yeah.
The language is very raw and direct. He's putting all his desire out there. And the way he keeps repeating, déjate llevar.
Let yourself go.
Yes. It's like a mantra,
Yeah.
a plea for her to forget about everything else and just be present with him.
Just surrender to the moment.
Exactly.
And that line about turning off your phone, apaga el celular, that's kind of a radical act in today's world.
Oh, for sure.
What do you think he's trying to say by asking her to do that?
I think it's about connection, but it's also about escapism.
Yeah.
He wants to shut out the outside world, create this bubble where it's just the two of them. In a world where we're all constantly plugged in, always reachable, that request for her to just turn off her phone, it's almost a romantic gesture.
It really is.
It says, I want your undivided attention.
I'm giving you mine.
Right.
And, it really makes you think about how we're always connected online, but maybe not as connected to, like, the actual people right in front of us.
It's something to consider. For sure. It is, isn't it? And it's
Yeah.
not just about shutting out the noise. It's about making a choice, to be present in this really intense moment of connection.
Yeah.
Which brings us to the chorus, where everything kind of changes.
Okay.
What do you think about these lines? Papa, baby, Dale, ponte pa mí, follow me to where? Like, for me, yo estoy patigata, tú está only. Mándame tu y mueve los cachetes al ritmo del TikTok.
It's like we've been transported to a whole other party. It's got that energy, that reggaeton vibe that makes you want to move.
Totally. The chorus is all about seduction and celebration. He's inviting her to just let loose, to join him in this moment of pure joy. And the way he keeps repeating, baby, and follow me, it just creates this back and forth that feels so playful, but also passionate.
I like how that line, Gata tu está only, keeps coming back.
Right.
Like, even when they're in this whirlwind of fun, he's still fixated on her.
How special she is.
Exactly. But what really stood out to me was how they bring in those modern references.
Oh, yeah.
Sending a location, dancing to TikTok. It's grounding this, like, timeless story of desire in our very specific digital world.
That's one of the things that makes this song so great, I think. It's embracing how technology shapes our relationships. Those little details, the Ubi and the TikTok, they're not just there for fun. They're saying, hey, this is how we flirt these days. This is how we connect. This is how we express desire in 2024. It's reggaeton, but with that 21st century spin.
Love it. Okay, so we've got this intense longing, a plea for connection, and then this burst of like playful energy in the chorus. But then I feel like the verses get more intimate, exploring this like physical side of their relationship. This line, otra noche, dándote, tocándote, calentándote encima, viniéndote al oído, gimiéndome. Feels like we've stepped into a different space completely. What's going on?
Yeah, things are definitely heating up. But notice how, even though it's more sensual, the language is still so direct, so raw.
Yeah.
That repetition of dandote really emphasizes the act of giving and receiving pleasure. It's about mutual surrender, mutual connection.
And then there's that whisper, al oído gimiendo. It brings in this vulnerability that contrasts with the bolder stuff we heard earlier.
Yeah. It's like they're showing us that desire isn't just about these grand gestures.
Right.
It's also about those small, intimate moments that make the connection deeper.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then we get this classic reggaeton theme of material devotion.
Y yo la sigo enamorando, regalando todo el día, comprando lo que usted, mamita, quiere. What do you think about that?
I think that's where we see the cultural side of reggaeton really coming through. You know, it's about proving your love, your commitment through actions, through taking care of your partner, making sure their needs are met. But it's not just about the material stuff.
Yeah.
It's about that consistent effort. Yo la sigo enamorando. I'm still making her fall in love.
So it's like a modern love language.
Totally. You show your affection through thoughtful gifts, through anticipating her needs.
But then the vibe changes.
Yeah.
It gets kind of sad. These lines, ahora no estamos alejando, no te estoy viendo, los días volando a estar sola, tú prefieres, are almost heartbreaking. What do you think is going on here? It feels like a crack in the surface, you know? We've gone from all those passionate declarations and playful invitations to this sudden feeling of distance. They're growing apart. Time is flying by. They're not seeing each other. And she seems to be choosing to be alone, which makes you wonder if there are deeper issues going on.
Unspoken needs, unresolved conflicts.
Maybe. It's a good reminder that even the strongest connections can be fragile.
And that relationships take work.
Absolutely. Even when the desire is still there.
And that sense of vulnerability makes the last lines of the song even more powerful. How do you interpret this?
Ven y dame un chance pa guayarte allá bajo mojarte todas las partes.
It's like a final plea, right?
Yeah.
I know things aren't good. I know I messed up, but I'm not giving up.
There's still that playfulness in the words, but under it all.
Vulnerability.
Yeah, like he's saying, look, I still want you.
Even though it's tough.
I think it's a good reminder that even when things are hard in a relationship, there's still that spark, right?
That potential for things to get better.
It's like the song ends on a cliffhanger.
It does. We don't know what's going to happen. Will she give him another chance? Will they find their way back to each other?
Makes you think.
For sure. Like, what about those times when you've had to fight for something or someone you really cared about? Or those times when you realized you had to let go?
Yeah, and that's the beauty of Gata Only, right? It's the story about desire, about modern love, about all the complicated stuff, but it's also about us.
About our own experiences.
Exactly.
So looking back on everything we talked about today, what are the biggest takeaways for you? Where does Gata Only fit into the world of reggaeton? And how does it relate to love in the digital age?
I think it shows how much reggaeton has evolved. It's taking those classic themes, you know, passion, pursuit, material devotion, all of that, but it's looking at them through a modern lens.
Yeah. And that digital world, it's not just a background here.
Right. It's part of the story. It's shaping how these characters communicate, how they express their desire, how they struggle. I think that's really powerful.
I do too. It makes me think about how love stories aren't frozen in time. They change as we change. I honestly feel like I understand reggaeton in a whole new way now.
I'm glad to hear that. You know, music is such a powerful thing. It can take us to different places, make us feel understood, and help us understand the world better.
And I feel like Gata Only does all of that. It's catchy, it's sexy, but it also makes you think.
Well said.
I want to thank you for taking this deep dive with us. It's been amazing to break down all those layers and find all that meaning in just one song.
I had a blast. This is my kind of party.
And of course, a huge thank you to you, dear listener, for sending this in. We wouldn't be here without you. So go back and listen to Gata Only again. But this time, really pay attention So all those little details we talked about, those emotional shifts, how it blends old and new. And then tell us what you think. How does this song make you feel? What does it say about love and relationships in this crazy digital world we live in? Hit us up on social media. Send us an email. Let's keep the conversation going. Until next time, keep diving deep and keep the music playing.